We're back on Inside Tennessee talking with three candidates for at-large seat C on City Council in Knoxville. Billy?
I'll address this to Tim, but it's really to all three of you. It's a follow-up on the mental health issue. Since the closure of the East Tennessee Mental Health Hospital in 2012, there's been a lot of discussion in council about how to address the large number of people who have mental health issues. Specifically, my question, do you think the city should provide some psychiatric beds for mental health as an alternative to putting some people in jail?
I think we should join with partners that would provide that type of housing. Absolutely, I agree with that. And we are doing some of that. When you look over at one of the Helen Ross McNabb, the BHUC is one example of that.
Ms. Parker, your perspective on Billy's question?
These are conversations that we need to have, and I'm curious actually if I can ask for clarification. When you say should the city provide, are you asking for city funding to fully provide this service? I would have to think about that. I think that there are other priorities potentially that we should address first with the city budget as we are continuing conversations with the state on how we can provide those psychiatric beds.
Okay. Mr. Best?
Yeah, I know some similar things happening in Shelby County. My mother worked for the county down there, the sheriff's department actually down there, and helped kind of work in the jails. And there were people that they found out that were down that did not need to be in jail, but needed really to be in some other places. They either needed to be in a homeless shelter, they needed to be in a mental health facility, and so she kind of served as an expediter to kind of help get folks in the right spot. So there wasn't a lot of money provided to beds, but there was money provided to a staffing person to kind of be that go-between, someone with a law background, but also a social work background, and also a criminal justice background. So was able to help kind of get folks in the right spot. So I'd love to see something like that piloted here that would not require a whole lot of extra money, but also would be able to get people in the right spaces to some of these other support services that we already have here in town.
Folks, let's move on to talking about the police department. I'm curious about your thoughts about how it's doing these days. It's no secret one of its vulnerabilities is diversity or lack thereof. I'd be curious about your thoughts. Ms. Parker, let's start with you. When you were a candidate 4 years ago, you expressed some concerns, even on this show, about how it was doing. I'd love to hear from you, your perspective now, having been on council for 4 years, voted on some budgets, been in discussions about the police department, how it's going, and diversity. What do you think today? How satisfied are you with it today, having been somebody who was a decision maker in the process of sort of evolving the police department?
Well, over the last 4 years, I've certainly been an advocate for the well-being of our police officers, as well as an advocate for reform within our police department that will provide a better service for our community. I've been very concerned about some of the concerns, we'll say, that officers have shared with me about their experience in the police department, and so I'm happy to see a commitment being made by the new chief, by the mayor, to address these concerns. It's hard for me to say where things are right now because we still are seeing turnover. We're still seeing concerning exits by top officials in the department, and so we need to still have more conversations. We need a report back from KPD to really have a better understanding of how things are going, but we're in the midst of a major reform process that I'm very hopeful that Knoxville remains committed to.
Mr. Hill.
I met with Chief Noel a number of times, and I'm convinced he's committed to making sure his department reflects the ethnicity of our city, and so I'm very confident. However, it's very challenging in our city, as we've seen. Being on the sports authority, our goal was 17% of diversity. We had the Urban League lead that effort. And we're still not there.
Yeah,
it is a challenge, and all we can do is be intentional about recruiting folks that reflect the ethnicity of our community, but we can't create them. We can do everything that we can to recruit, and I believe that he is committed to do that.
Well, I think for me, I'll just admit I'm a little bit disappointed not in Chief Noel, but I think most of us are in the lack of diversity in our department. I have young people that have interacted with the police over a number of different occasions, and it's not always gone well, even in cases where young people were not doing, things that they should not have been. And so those things change when you have officers that are from the neighborhood, when you have officers that are committed to community policing. Those are things that Chief Noel, to his credit, and he's talked with me personally, he actually had his first kind of community event at the Change Center and had young people interview him there, and it went really, really well, I thought. But my thing is, there's got to be some change in the culture and in the organization itself. I've got a background in DEI work, and it's not enough to just get diversity. You actually have to make the culture of a place ready for that, right? So we're not going to see as many diverse officers from other places want to come here unless the culture is proven that it's a place they can really host and hold and make people feel at home here. And so it's a tough road ahead. I think Chief Noel is committed to it. I like what I've heard from him. I think his track record speaks for itself. But we've got to be realistic with where we're going, what our goals are, and it's going to take some time. And I just hope he gets the time, and I hope that internally there's enough support with other officers to help to the efforts that he wants to see happen.
We've got to take another quick break, but before we do that, just since we're on policing, I just want to get a quick thumbs up or a thumbs down on this idea of a co-responder program that we have in place right now. Mayor Kincannon's been a proponent of it as well, where you have a police officer and a behavioral health expert that go out with on a call that may involve both of them. Is that something that each of you are supportive of? Yes or no?
I hear you want a quick answer. And for the most part, yes, but there are questions. It's been hard to fill some of those positions. I have questions, and we need some answers.
That's fair. Mr. Hill?
Yes, Chief Noel is very pleased with that program.
Okay. Mr. Best?
Yes, we do have a lack of social workers in our area, too, so that speaks to some of the complexities there as well.
Fair, absolutely. These are gray issues, certainly, and we appreciate all of you taking them on. We're going to be back with more of our conversation with these candidates right after this.